having more than one monitor, so if you have more than one monitor, you're not going to be able to run the game in full screen. It's kind of annoying, to be honest, especially for recording, because I can't get like the correct resolution and stuff, but whatever. It's slightly immersion breaking, and I would have preferred to be able to run the game in full screen. I'm sure they'll fix it. Hopefully they fix it anyway, but that's an issue I had. Another issue that people are having that I am not having, and it's kind of a game-breaking issue, is that the co-pilot, which is essential in rally games, his voice isn't working for some people. And you absolutely need this. I could not play this game without that. So just a caveat, if you are going to buy this game, just check quickly on the forums if they fixed it. Apparently they're going to patch it pretty quickly. It's a serious issue. It stops people from being able to play the game. So I'm pretty sure by the time this is even out, they will have fixed the issue. But just be aware that that issue exists and that some people, not all, the majority of people are fine, but some people are not able to get the voice working. And without that, you just cannot play this game. Next, we're going to talk about user interface and menus. So overall, these are quite clean and nice. They're a little bit plain, honestly. I think they could look a bit nicer. I think it's just work in progress stuff right now because it's an early access game. It is an area that does need some attention, but in terms of functionality, they work fine, they're easy to navigate. The one thing I will say is that for a PC-only title, which currently this is, there is no mouse navigation in the menus, which is not really okay, and they should probably fix it. In terms of options menus, there's a ton here. There's tons of graphics options. There's 3 different kinds of anti-aliasing. There's detail on trees, detail on tracks, detail on roads, detail on every texture in the game, lighting detail. There's tons here. So that's really, really good. There's tons of HUD options as well. You can change every aspect of the user interface in this game, which I really appreciate. And then in terms of controls, there's tons of profiles for Xbox controllers, different kinds of wheels. There are some people with obscure wheel setups that aren't working properly, but for the most part, if you have a standard wheel setup, a standard Xbox 360 controller, you're going to have no problems with controls in this game. That's really it. There's nothing to complain about here. There's tons and tons of options. It's really, really nice. So graphics and art style. This is kind of one of the negative points of this game. It looks good, but it also looks kind of last generation. It looks very much like an Xbox 360 title. And I think, honestly, that's what's happened here, is that... And I get this vibe about this game, that a small group of people within Codemasters have decided to sort of do this passion project rally game. And they've used an old engine, they've used some old assets. The thing looks old. It doesn't look bad, but it looks old. There's some low polygon assets, there's some low-res textures, it looks a bit muddy and flat. Overall, the cars look good, but the interiors are lacking in detail. You can see some of the polygons on the wheel. You know, the dials don't look great. The textures inside the cars, some of them look good, some of them don't look good. Overall, it's not bad, but it just does look very, very last generation. It's certainly not immersion breaking. It's not like a don't buy issue, but it's just, it doesn't look as good as it could. And I know they're working on a new engine for the Formula 1 series, so they could have used that. But again, I think it's sort of more of a passion project, and they're just sort of trying this out and seeing if people are interested. So maybe they will upgrade the graphics later. Some of the lighting as well is a bit flat. It doesn't look bad though, don't get me wrong. The game looks really nice, it just doesn't look as good as it could. And it certainly doesn't look like any kind of modern PC title or Xbox title or anything like that. Sound. Overall, the sound in this game is fantastic, especially all the sound effects. Not just the car stuff like engine sounds and stuff, that's standard. I mean, they should sound good in a racing game, but there's tons of little details when you're driving, especially in cockpit view, wearing headphones, tons of subtle detail. Little rocks hitting the car, little creaks and stuff in the body of the car as you're like really pushing it. It feels fantastic, it sounds fantastic. Really, really good here. One of the really impressive aspects is the voice, the co-pilot. When he's speaking to you, if you're going over rough terrain or you go over a jump or, you know, you're really pushing the car, his voice will be affected by that. Like he's being affected by G-forces and vibration. It sounds really, really, really good. His voice will get shaky, or when you go over a jump, he'll just completely stop talking and then resume again when you land. It adds tons of immersion. It's really, really a fantastic aspect. I'm really glad they put that into this game. It makes it so much more immersive when you're driving, and it's already a very intense experience. As for the music, it's a bit generic, to be honest. It's a bit weak. I don't remember any of the tracks. It's just a generic Codemasters sort of couple of beats. You know, there's no dubstep, thankfully. I mean, if you like dubstep, then you might be sad about that. But it's not a dubstep fest like it was in the previous game. It's a lot more subtle, just some chill beats in the background. Nothing particularly interesting. It's just menu music. It's completely forgettable and generic. Game modes. So, Really what you have here is sort of an event system and then different ways to play that event system. So career mode's the most in-depth way, so I'll talk about that last. But essentially what you have is, in custom mode, you can pick a car, you pick an area. There are 3 areas: Wales, Monaco, and Greece. And then you pick some stages and you build an event. And the event is a series of like races that you do, maybe 3, maybe 4, whatever you want to do. That's it. You just race and you try and get the best times against the AI drivers. And if you win, you win. So career mode is an extension of this. So essentially, in career mode, they'll give you an event against easy AI, and then you move up the ranks of AI. So you'll do one event with open championship, I think it's called. It's quite easy. And then you move on to clubman, and then professional, and it just moves up in difficulty. And you'll be given a series of 3 events in the first one at least. And so you'll race Wales, Monaco, and Greece. And you'll do 4 stages within each. The key aspect, the key thing that separates career mode from just any kind of custom event is that you earn money for your position in a race. So if you come first, you'll get more money. If you come third, you get less money. And you can spend that money buying cars. And then you can upgrade those cars and maintain those cars using a team. So you can buy team members as well. And what they do is they help you with the repair system in this game. And I'll talk about all these mechanics when we get to the game design section. But overall, it's you do a couple of races, you get to repair your car, you get some money. The better you place, the more money you get, the more cars you can buy, the more advanced team members you can buy, etc., etc. It's nice. It's maybe a bit bare bones right now. I think they could maybe add to it significantly, maybe add, some different modes, different ways of doing it, maybe some sort of special sort of events that happen in between these rallies, because it does get a bit sort of, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again here. Really, the core experience of this game is just the driving, and if that's not enough for you, if driving's not enough for you, then you maybe won't find enough here for you in career mode to keep you interested. But it's serviceable, and this goes into the online mode as well, which is essentially the same. It's just another event. There's a daily event, a weekly event, and a monthly event, and each depending on the length. So the daily one has 4, I think, up to the monthly one, which has like 24 stages. You race and you compete against people online instead of the AI. That's the difference. You're comparing leaderboard scores with people instead of the artificial intelligence. So again, it's sort of the same thing, just repackaged in a different way. And ultimately, that's what all racing games are. But because of the exclusion of some of the features they had in the previous DiRT games, like the special events and Gymkhana and all that stuff, which I personally didn't like, but because they have excluded that from the game, it does just kind of feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Leagues is another thing that they've added to this game, so you can go in and create your own events and then do sort of an online championship with your friends or with public, but that you control the settings and stuff. So that's a nice addition as well. And they're planning to add an uphill mode later, but we know nothing about that right now, so it's not something I can comment on. There are 36 stages in total over 3 locations, and I've already mentioned what those locations are. Honestly, that's quite a lot. There's a huge amount of variety in stages here, and when you consider the fact that you're allowed to also change the weather and conditions of those stages, it adds tons of replayability. So if you get really familiar with the track, you can then try it at night, or you can try it in the snow, or you can try it in the rain. It's really, really cool. I really like the weather effect thing. I really like the night-day, driving it in different conditions. A lot of games don't bother to do that, and it's really important, I think, in racing, to try racing in different conditions. So they've really, really nailed that here. Overall, game modes, there's a reasonable amount here. I think maybe after a couple of weeks, people will start getting a little bit tired of it and kind of want to do something else. And also, the custom mode kind of nullifies the point of career mode, because the career mode, you have to unlock the cars before you get to try them, and there's quite a lot to unlock. Whereas if you just go into custom, you can race any car completely upgraded. So it's kind of, I don't know, I feel that custom mode kind of undermines career mode a little bit, and if you just want to race all the cars, then there's no real point doing career mode. So, yeah, I'm not sure. It's okay. Really, that's not the focus of the game. The focus of the game is just the driving, but if you want a sort of long progression mechanic, there's not a huge amount here to keep you interested for a long period of time. Game design. Now, this is the big thing with this game, and it's the core focus of this game, and that's because it really is trying to be a simulation. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not it's a simulation, because people will argue about that on the forums for the rest of time, so if you want to know about how much of a simulation or how much it's not a simulation, then go to the Steam forums, go to the Codemasters forums, and just read the endless posts of people fighting about it. Personally, though, I've played every Codemasters game since Grid, I think, yes, and this is probably the most realistic in terms of handling, in terms of physics, that I've seen Codemasters put out. And it's the most serious game that I've seen them put out as well. They're not trying to appease a more casual arcade racing fan here. They are trying to make something for people who prefer a simulation experience. And I really, really have to commend them for that, first of all, because they've shied away from that for a very long time, and people have been asking for it for a very long time. So it's really nice to see them finally put something out that is more of a sim. And I think it is a sim. If you want to shout at me in the comments for that, shout at me in the comments for that. The only thing I'll say about its simulation currently is that some of the cars feel like they grip too much, and that, you know, it's a rally game, you should be sliding around a little bit more. I feel that there's some understeer issues at points, and that the grip's a little bit off, but these are things that can be tweaked. Overall, though, I think it handles really, really nicely. Now, this comes into difficulty. Because it's a simulation, it is difficult. And at first, I sort of jumped into the game not expecting the level of difficulty that I got, and I was kind of approaching it like I approached Dirt 3, you know, oh, this will be sort of intense and fast-paced, but not very realistic. Completely wrong. The first corner I took, I just went straight off the road and hit a tree. So that was a bit of a shock, and then I quickly realized that I had to take my time with this game, and that's the key thing with this game. If you are going to get into this game, or you're interested in simulation, or maybe you want to try it for the first time, my advice to you would be take it slowly. It doesn't matter if you win the race. Come 6th, come 7th. Just get through the race. Don't go off the track. Don't damage your car. That should be your primary focus at first. And honestly, that's very, very satisfying to do. If you can get through an entire race well and drive well, it's very mechanically satisfying to do that. So, it is difficult. The physics are very punishing at times, and you're punished further because you take damage, and that damage will affect your ability to do the race. Now, unlike other Codemasters games, there's no rewind function. So if you crash, you can recover the car, but you take a time penalty. There is no rewind and try again. And a lot of people who are into the more arcadey experience, that will put them off. Honestly, I really, really enjoy it. It forces you to be better at the game, and it increases the intensity of the game a lot. Like, if you cannot make a mistake, when you don't make a mistake, it's such a rush, and if you're worrying about making a mistake, that's very tense. I find that kind of gameplay very, very satisfying. You can restart the race, but you restart the race at a penalty, so they'll take some of your money away if you do win, which I think is a nice touch, because there should be some risk reward there. And if you do take damage, you have to pay for those repairs. So the system overall does punish poor play, but it dramatically rewards good play. And that's the thing as well that they enhance with the assists. The less assists you run with, the more rewards you get in terms of cash from career mode, which again is great. So if you're good at this, they reward you. If you're bad at this, they punish you. But I don't feel that the punishment is unfair, and if you want to avoid being punished, just take your time. You know, it doesn't matter if you come 7th. You still get paid, you still get money. I think it's a really good system. So the repair system overall works like this. If you complete 2 stages in an event, you get the option to repair your car before going into the 3rd event, and I think it's every 2 stages. They give you a time limit, essentially. It's like, basically they give you 60 minutes to use, but really you can only use 30 of it, and it takes time to do each repair, so you have to like move the sliders and choose which areas of the car you want to repair, and it tells you how long it's going to take to do that. Really, if you go over the 30-minute mark, you start getting penalized in terms of the times for the next race that you do. So they might take a minute off, 2 minutes off. It gets really ridiculous very quickly. And so they're trying to limit how much you can repair and make you focus on areas of importance, which I really, really like, actually. And again, it punishes people who drove poorly in the previous race, because you have to continue with this car throughout the event. You don't get a brand new car every time you start a race. Through the event, you race the same car you started with to the end. So by the end of the event, your car can be completely wrecked if you don't take care of it. Again, I think that's a really nice system. It's a nice change to see that in a game. You know, it's punishing, but it again rewards better driving. It's better in this game to come 6th than it is to come like 3rd with a completely wrecked car and then not be able to do the rest of the event. So I actually really, really like the repair system. Now there's another aspect to this game, which is team management, and that influences the repair system. So you have a team and you hire people, and they can be of different skills, and they can get perks and stuff, but essentially their role is to increase repair time and increase the rate at which you upgrade your car. Now, I don't really like this aspect of the game, and it's probably because it's just not very fleshed out, but really, you buy some guys, and then when you do have to repair, it just slightly increases the rate at which you can repair things. Not very exciting. And then their upgrade system is, if you race a car a lot with a team, the team will upgrade it, and you get 2 stages of upgrades before moving into advanced upgrade. And the only one that really matters is the advanced upgrade, because that actually lets you tweak the various aspects of the car manually yourself. And that's cool that that's in there, but the first 2 upgrades are just slightly improve the performance and handling of the car. And it just feels a bit boring and generic and not very exciting. If they gave players the option to tweak things as they went, like in a more sort of granular fashion, you know, you've got some points. What areas of the car do you want to tweak now? What areas of the car do you want to tweak next race? I think that would be more exciting for people than just having a generic sort of unlock system and then eventually being able to tweak your car. I don't find that system at all very, very interesting. Overall, I think they could probably tweak that, change it, make it a bit more interesting, a bit more exciting. So it's there. I don't really like it. I like the repair system. I don't really like the team management system. Overall, though, I think the gameplay is fantastic. I really do. Initially, it was way too hard for me. I really struggled with it. I run with no assists, and I use a steering wheel. I use a Logitech G27. I found it really, really hard. It took me a while. I also didn't understand much about Rally, and I had to learn the co-pilot's notes and what they meant. I had to actually go and Google that to find out how to understand what he was saying. But when I did understand, and it's not complicated, by the way, but when I did understand what was going on and I actually got into it and I put the time in, by the end of my first event, which was the Open Championship, I went from like crashing into trees every 3 seconds to driving really, really well. So it doesn't take that much time to get good at this. And overall, I've had a really, really good time just with the core mechanics, the driving, the simulation. And it's ultimately very, very satisfying. Business model. So initially, the game released at $31.49 on Early Access until the 4th of May, and then it will go up to $34.99 after that. All future content apparently is going to be free, and there's going to be no DLC or microtransactions. So if you buy into this game now, every piece of content that comes out for this game, you will get as it comes out, which I think is really, really good. And I think the price is really good too, to be honest, for what it is. Sure, it's not the next blockbuster AAA racing game with the flashiest graphics, so they've lowered the price a bit. I think that's great. I think the early access model is really interesting, that they're actually willing to listen to feedback, because Codemasters have routinely screwed up a bit in the last few years with their racing games, and it seems like they're turning over a new leaf with this. So overall business model, pretty good, good price, nothing to complain about. Conclusion. If you are that arcade guy and you're never going to be interested in anything simulation, this game's just not for you. But if you're someone who's more open to the idea or already loves simulation games, honestly, this is a must-buy at the current price. And I think with all the future content that they're going to add, it's a no-brainer, to be honest. You know, if you own a wheel or you're interested in sim games, this is an obvious purchase. If you're maybe interested in getting into it, it's an obvious purchase. It's cheap. It looks reasonably good. It controls pretty well. You know, there's not a huge amount of game modes right now, but I'm sure they'll add to that. Overall, guys, I couldn't not recommend this game. It's fantastic, honestly. I'm having a really good time playing it. I might get bored in a couple of weeks with the game modes, but, you know, whatever. It's $30. If you're remotely interested in this game, I suggest you just go pick it up now. It's really, really fantastic. That was my review of DiRT Rally. If you liked it or found it helpful in some way, leave a comment, like it, subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do at the end of videos. Thanks a lot. Take it easy.